Tashidale. This is Lama Rikse Koncho Nandro. Apologize, my hands feel a little bit unsteady today. But anyway, I wanted to talk about secrecy. And I'll try and just get to the point. So, first thing about secrecy is preciousness. Okay? You have something very precious. You don't share it. It's something that you keep locked in a cabinet, or you keep in a drawer, or in a display case behind glass. You have something precious. You don't let other people touch it. You don't let other people handle it. You know? So your spiritual life, is something you don't want other people playing with, something you don't want other people judging. And the weight of other people's judgment on your spiritual practice is a legitimate concern. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to explain that well enough, but it is something. Second of all, pressure. What do I mean by pressure? I'm talking about containment, heat, passion. So, why is a pressure cooker so powerful? It's like, well, because it doesn't let the heat escape. It doesn't let the energy escape. So keeping things to yourself means they stay alive inside you. And so it's like, when you have a secret and you really, really want to share it, it can be agonizing. Like, oh, I really want to tell someone, this is so cool. So it's like being in love, maybe in a way that you think other people might judge you, or, maybe like, oh, people don't like this person, so, or this person doesn't approve of this person, but I'm in love and I really want to tell them. This goes into the more spoiling aspect of it. If you don't tell, that feeling, on the pressure side, if you don't tell, that feeling becomes hotter, right? So if you receive a teaching, if you receive a transmission, if you have a spiritual experience and you don't say anything, you hold it inside and you just keep it, and you don't look for other people's input. The first part is that it will get more intense, and that feeling of wanting to share will get more intense, and that means that feeling is now driving you, right? You're feeling it all the time. Oh, I want to let this out. It's like there's a sense of wanting to release, and that sense of wanting to release keeps you obsessed. It keeps you locked into that experience, and that experience will continue to present itself to you and to unfold. And so primarily, that's the number one reason that you want to keep secrets, that you don't want to share about your actual experiences, and you want to stay vague about things. And if I seem like sometimes I talk around things and I stay vague, it's because I very much value secrecy. For me, secrecy is one of the most primary and essential spiritual values. So I don't share what I feel I can lose. If I share something, it means that I've internalized it to the point where I'm absolutely satisfied that it will not diminish if I bring it to someone else's attention. And also, I'm absolutely satisfied that if I share it, I'm not at risk of affecting someone else's experience, or disturbing someone else's path. I try and stay away from those things. But anyways, the longer that you keep something a secret, and I have nope, not even gonna say it. The longer you keep secrets, the more powerful those secrets become, the stronger that they will well up inside you. If you tell someone, oh, well, I'm in love with this person and we're very happy and it's wonderful, and then that person goes, oh yeah, you better be careful, that I know somebody that dated that person, and they've got some baggage, they've got some real skeletons in the closet, and they did this and they did this to this person. What happens? You lose heart. It hurts you. And it damages that love. It makes you question. It makes you question your own feelings. And so immediately the feeling diminished. It's like deflating a bag. That's exactly the same as sharing your meditation experiences, most especially. So one thing, and the reason why I know that this is something that should be talked about is I felt that I've had that experience myself of sharing spiritual secrets and then having that experience that I thought was so special disappear from my life forever. I've had this many times. It's not an easy lesson, I've learned. It's a hard fought lesson, and it's one that I don't play with anymore because I understand it's the law through my own experience. You don't have to accept it as the law. I'm saying for me, it's the law. As well as, keeping things inside, keeping things inside. We all know what it's like to restrain ourselves. We all know that feeling, or that urge to do the thing we want to do, or to express the thing we want to express grows stronger. It's obvious. It's really not something I need to explain in any deep metaphysical terms. Thirdly, and this could be considered superstitious or overly religious, but in many texts there are deep negative consequences for sharing certain teachings or aspects of tantric expression, and this really gets trampled all over the place nowadays with lamas expressing very, very high teachings. They have the confidence of what I was just expressing, that if they express it, it's not going to have the same impact because they've already gained the realization of this practice. B, there could be something fishy going on, but I won't go into that. You judge for yourself. But the also see, the third thing is, ever since Tibet has been invaded, there is sort of a bailing out, a sort of emergency plan has been enacted where they're desperately trying to transplant their culture somewhere else because it is dying in their own country. And even for the Bhutanese lamas, there is a sense of needing to perpetuate these traditions, that these traditions are being threatened, that in some sense that Tantric Buddhism is endangered. And it's not as if the community is like falling apart, but the number of genuine practitioners who aren't merely looking for a badge of, oh, I'm with this lama and so I'll be okay, I'm going to heaven because I know I got this teaching or I did this practice. The number of yogis who are really going for it and really like facing the incredibly painful austerities of attempting to gain enlightenment in one lifetime is very few. And so it's a lot like kind of throwing seeds to the wind. There's a lot of like expressing these things in mass that is happening where they're not expecting everybody to necessarily actualize the teachings, but they're looking for those like little gems, those random 1 in a million sprouts. And the rest of people, there's an expression, there's a sort of commonality. I'm not sure from what lama it originates, whether it's Bama Sambhava or some other lineage, but it's very like kind of common knowledge thing is anybody that receives an empowerment, as long as they have faith, then they will be, and their samayas are clean, then they're keeping the secrets, literally. They'll be liberated in 3 lifetimes. Now, a lot of people's samayas are not clean. I think still, even if your samaya is damaged, if people receive empowerment and they have faith in the teacher, it's going to do a lot more good than it is negativity. Now, did I always believe that? No. It was one of the things I was very troubled about. I confronted a lot of lamas about this. It's like, you're saying there's some pretty hefty fines to not taking these teachings seriously, and yet you're kind of throwing people to the wolves when it comes to just giving these things out and not really following up with these students. Isn't that damaging? And Traga Rinpoche said, no, that, even if the worst were to happen to them, that would simply bounce. And it was literally the Tibetan term he used, bounce. So they would, even if they fell down, they would go, their karma would be instantly purified and they would go to the pure realms. And I was like, and I asked another Kempo about this, and he said, oh yeah, the term is bounce. And then he said some other stuff that was a little like, okay. But, we can't be so negative about these things. Anyways, I'm rambling too much. Back to secrecy. When it comes to someone who is genuinely interested and wanting to engage in the practices or wanting to be a meditator, and this is why I don't go to many events. People don't see me around anymore. I used to be a really common fixture in the community, and then I sort of have ducked out. And one of the reasons I've ducked out is because this just hurts my feelings so much. This is really hard for me to have practitioners come up to me and they want to fit in and they want to be accepted and they want to be loved and they want affirmation. And these are all natural human things, and there's no shame in wanting to be affirmed, wanting to find a commonality, common ground, wanting to be approved of. No problem. But really, if they have some spiritual experience that's very profound, one time I saw this lama and then this phenomena happened and it was incredible, and then I knew that this was the right thing and I'm gonna do it this way from now on, and whatever it is, I had a dream about this, I had a vision, I saw such and such thing happen, like I witnessed this. It's just like somebody stabbing their heart and just dropping their blood onto the floor, and in search of something as petty and small as approval. Don't share your spiritual experiences. Don't share the most precious, beauteous, wonderful things you have with people just to impress them. People's opinions are useless, utterly useless. People's approval is utterly useless. No matter who it is, whether they like you or dislike you, it's not valuable. And don't let your temporary insecurity, if you're new If there's a lot of like, all this is very new and you're looking to make friends, don't let your desire to kind of fit in or to get approval from your peers tempt you into letting something so incredible out. Keep it inside, keep it tight, and then it will lift you up. It will pull you forward. It will pull you through the path. And when times get hard, and they will get hard, those things that you've held inside, those experiences will still be bright stars that will guide you in the darkness. They'll pull you forward even when you want to give up. And that's why secrecy is the most important, because it will give you strength. Okay? So, don't give people the chance to comment on your experiences. Even lamas, like, unless you really like are dedicated to that lama, don't share those experiences for clarification. And you can test this one, to find 3 different lamas in SM about kind of something out of the normal lens of Buddhism, and or ask them something very particularly personal, like, oh, what should I do in this exact situation, and see how the opinions won't line up. One lama will say one thing, another lama will say something else, another lama will say a third thing. It doesn't mean they're not all enlightened. That's not what it means. It means they're all human beings with their own hearts, and they all they all have a different flavor. Each one of our souls, it has a different flavor. If it didn't, then enlightened beings would have absolutely no personality. They would have no sort of individual expression. But that's not true at all. They're actually some of the most expressive beings on the planet. They each have very much their own individual role to play. And so my point is that if you ask a teacher what a particular experience means, it can define that for you in a way that keeps other alternative views of the same situation out. So if you hold something inside and you wait for the truth of it to reveal itself to you, then you may have to wait, but you may find that you find a personal truth about it, and you should use, you can use scripture. You just keep reading scripture, keep reading different texts that they present themselves to you, whether through the lama or through just you feel a draw to a certain text or a certain lineage. Read those texts. And I should say that traditionally, if it's a Vajrayana text, you should always get the lung. But then also there's a cultural thing there of, if you have very strong faith in a text, well, then it's not unheard of, if someone has very strong faith in a text, for them to not necessarily need the lung. So the hard and fast rule is get the lung, or the read transmission, the reading transmission, which means a lama has read the book kind of rapidly. You've heard the Tibetan syllables, or I guess there's going to be a lot more American Buddhists someday, so maybe read the English translation. But you've heard this thing expressed to you, and you've heard it from a mouth that's connected to a heart that has a direct experience or understanding of those teachings, and that is the lung, or reading transmission. So that's traditionally how it's done. That's how the chain of secrecy is kept and the transmission between teacher and student is kept. That's kind of what is meant by the word samaya, or as one meaning of the word samaya is the connection between teacher and student. So that's probably all going way too far, but it all is connected to this notion of secrecy. So let me start again for the third time. Secrecy. Don't let people play. Don't let people influence you in something transcendent that you've experienced. Let that transcendence keep expressing itself to you. Keep a relationship with those experiences that lingers onward through the years. Don't expend that experience, and don't let other people influence what you think about that experience. Come to your own conclusions, and those conclusions, if you don't say anything, will change over time, and eventually you'll mature into some sort of certainty about them through study, practice, direct experience, and perhaps, in some occasions, the right Lama will say the right thing to you about those experiences if you ask directly. The reason that I say don't ask Lamas always, all the time, is because it's not, or don't ask out of attention seeking. Don't ask out of wish for approval. Don't ask because you want to tell the Lama how enlightened you become. Don't do that. The Lama knows darn well where you're at simply by how you carry yourself. They don't need you to express anything to them. They'll just smell it. They'll just see it on your face. It's obvious, you know. Wisdom is plain as day. Compassion is plain as day. Bodhicitta is plain as day. They're not things you need to carry badges around for. This, that's for monkey mind, okay? That's for people who, they need that extra reassurance, you know? It's like, there's a lot of undercover police officers, but you're not sure because they're not wearing a police officer's uniform, so there's doubt, and so you don't know, you know. So you want to see the uniform because it gives some certainty to the mind. Again, off topic. So when I say don't ask Lamas, I mean don't tell Lamas about various transcendent experiences you've had, looking for them to affirm your level, you know, looking for them to affirm your status, you know. Like, don't expect them. I promise you, this is like 99.99999% chance, no matter how exalted the experience, they're not going to turn around and be like, oh, you're the Toku of so and such, and you need to go to the temple right now, and we're going to put a hat and a throne and robes on you, and we're going to tell you everything, and you've won the spiritual lotto. Like, a lot of people are diminishing themselves because they want to win the spiritual lotto. So don't do that. If you're going to ask because you really, really, really don't understand and you want some insight and you're kind of befuddled with what has happened. Well, then, or, you know, there's something about it that makes you feel very uncertain and about your position. Then, okay, like, ask. But then, even then, be very discerning about what Lama, when to ask. You might have to wait a while. You might have to wait until things have calmed down and there's nobody around, you know. And when it comes to Lamas, they're so busy. They're so incredibly busy that you might have to wait months, hang out with the Lama for to get that moment, you know. Or nowadays, a lot of times, lamas, like, they give interviews, and most of those are wasted because they're like, you know, oh, what do I do about my cats being sick? They, you know, they don't ask, like, the number one thing you should ask a lama if you really want to ask a lama a question is, you know, what is uh, uh, either how to properly do X, Y, and Z, or what practice can I do that will gain me the strongest result? Those are probably good questions to ask. Thirdly, maybe, can you show me the nature of my own mind? You know, but that's a long and hard journey. I mean, you absolutely should not expect a lama to be able to simply flip you upside down and show you the, like, you know, pull back the I was gonna say curtain, but I think there's like a metaphysical word for it. I can't think of it right now. Don't expect magic. You know, expect information and see what you can do with that. So don't share out of you know, a the importance of not allowing people to damage whatever blessing, grace, spirit, power is in an experience, empowerment, transmission, lung, understanding you have. Don't share those things. Just be a regular human. If you go to the Sangha, be boring. Don't be exciting. Be boring. You know, be the guy. You know, be the guy who just, like, I don't even know if he's paying attention. You know, be that guy. Don't be the guy that's exalted and, oh my goodness, he's so realized, he's so you know, enlightened. I can speak from experience. I've been that person. It's a long, hard fall. It will really hurt when your own faults are revealed to you, and all of your, you know, being the one gets revealed to be a concept you had. You know, you don't want it. You don't want to be the chosen one, really, I promise. Second reason not to give out secrets is, again, you just uttering them, even if someone doesn't have an opinion, even if someone says nothing, or even if they affirm you and say, wow, that's incredible, that's amazing, oh, you're so enlightened, that's wonderful, you know, that's great, you should continue to do that practice because that's an excellent. Even if you get all that, you let it out of the bag, you let the pressure out, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it immediately. If you're paying attention, you'll feel the, you know, that big light that was inside you grows just a bit dimmer. And every time you share it, it will grow just a bit dimmer. And that's an experience that can be had, and I don't wish it on anyone. You know, if you have a once in a lifetime thing happen to you, hold on to it for Savior's sake. Hold on to it. You know. Thirdly, it's against the rules. Read any tantric text. Usually at the beginning and the end, there's really expressive warnings about not sharing these things. Also, if you get permission to read the words of my perfect teacher, there's a very small section, but it's in there, about what the consequences of breaking samaya are, and they're very troubling. So a lot of people think that's just cultural mumbo jumbo. Like, even like, I've had some serious yogic retreatants really push it, like really put some stuff out there where I'm like, ooh, you know, like, to the point where I've left the room. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. you know. Because, like, why risk it? It's in the text. It says, don't, if you say these things or you share this element, you know, it could get bad, you know, and sometimes the teachers will be explicit, you know, oh, this won't be good for you. You let it out, it won't be good. Um, why risk it? If the text is warning you and the teachers are warning you and the tradition is warning you, like, even if it's just for like cultural reasons and for like kind of the marketplace of the Dharma, like, you know, which is a thing. It's a thing in my mind. I don't, you know, if I have things to teach, I'd prefer to be compensated for them. I've worked, you know, it's blood, sweat, and tears for all these teachers. They really have sacrificed a lot to know these things. So there's a selfish element there, you know, whether that's the entirety of why they say, oh, don't share these things with other people. I don't think so. And if it is, it's still safer not to. You know, it's safer not to, because if your Lama gets wind of it, maybe like they won't want to teach you things anymore. That's probably pretty rare, but it could happen. Or just you don't want to find out the hard way that certain rules are in place for certain reasons. So it's in the text. Don't, you know, and read the. If you read, like, I think it's Dudjom Rinpoche's advice to practitioners or Dudjom Rinpoche's advice to retreatants. He uses sort of like English wording where he says, keep your mouth shut. Until you reach liberation, keep your mouth shut. Now, I was gonna do a separate video on this, but I'll just touch on it briefly. It's like, well, okay, contra nandro, like, you know, why are you not keeping your mouth shut? Why are you like talking about this or that? Well, I told you, as much as I might, it might seem like I'm spilling the beans on things, like the beans are intact. I'm not. I'm talking around things most of the time. I'm hoping that you catch the meaning behind words sometimes. I'm letting you, I want you to put it together yourself. I don't want to have to be explicit. If I be explicit, it's going to be in a one-on-one or teaching scenario. You know, if you want to be my student and you want to follow me, that's very heavy. That's very heavy for me. That's very heavy for the student. And that goes for any Lama. There's a saying in Chinese, you know, it's like once a teacher, always a father. And so you can take that for what it's worth. So I'm not really talking about anything too secret. B, if I do talk about secret things, I always try to talk about them from non-secretive perspective. So like a lot of times you can talk about the Vajrayana through the Mahayana. There's lots of Mahayana references. It's one of the reasons why I use Shanideva so much, because it's a Mahayana reference. Or even Hinayana references. Sometimes you know, like there's Dharani, you know, which are words of power, you know, spells essentially, in the Hinayana tradition. So we can talk about like, you know, kind of those sort of things from a different perspective, or even Taoist perspective. I don't have vows to keep Taoism, keep my mouth shut about Taoism, or Christian perspective. I don't have a vow to keep my mouth shut about Christianity. So, or tarot, I don't have vows to keep my mouth shut about the tarot, which is why I enjoy using the tarot. Also, it's a 1 through 21 lesson format, so I like that it's organized. So you'll get more of those as time goes on, because I really like. It helps me stay organized about fundamentals. Thirdly, and this is kind of what I was interested in saying when I brought up the topic of why am I talking about things. I'm the direct lineage holder for several things that don't have another person who's going to be able to transmit those things. And I'm in poor health. I've been in poor health for years and years. And I might live till 90 and just be in poor health till 90, but I never know how much time I have. And I don't want to die without telling somebody about some of the things that I think are useful. So there's some urgency. And lastly, I was a very naive person coming into this very sacred, very intense tradition. And I was like a bull in a china shop. I was like, a rocket without a guidance system. And I just slammed into every mistake I could have possibly made. And I, stepped on a lot of toes, and I threw my weight around, and did a lot of things that I regret. And they're not that. Mostly it was just out of like not understanding little subtleties like secrecy. And so if I feel like if I can just like save you, even though most people have to learn through doing and feeling the consequences, even then, if you still have to face the consequences, if someone has said it to you before, oftentimes you only have to face the consequences once, because you'll think like, oh yeah, this is what that person was talking about. I understand now, and I get it, as opposed to having to beat your head against the wall over and over and over before your intellect catches up and actually gets the message of what the universe is trying to express to you. So, for all those reasons, that's why I'm talking. But again, I'm not talking about my direct experiences. I don't want to name drop in any particular way. I try and keep things vague, and I suggest you do the same. Don't. It's one of the most common questions, and it's just nobody's business that I get every time I'm out at this practice or this retreat or this empowerment or this teaching. Oh, who's your rude lama? What? I mean, talk about personal. Talk about, like, none of your business. And yeah, that's a secret you shouldn't let out, because people have opinions about lamas, and I have had damage done to me from people sharing their opinions about lamas, where I'm like, wow, I really wish I hadn't have had that person explain those things to me. And the Sangha, as it stands as a group of people trying to learn, not Mahasangha as in like lamas and yogis and bodhisattvas. The regular kind of lower case as Sangha is a perilous place. And you have to keep your mind straight, and you have to watch what you say, and you have to watch who you listen to. There are a lot of people that are sort of clingy. I'll be polite. There are a lot of clingy people. So, and there's a lot of talkers, and there's a lot of armchair experts, and you don't want to internalize those things. So be the boring one. Keep your mouth shut. Secrecy, the greatest thing about secrecy is it keeps that fire inside you. So if you have had experiences, don't talk about them. They'll stay alive forever. Talk about them enough, they become old news. They become commonplace. Everybody knows that story. Why are you telling that story again, right? Oh, it used to be something amazing. My dad's told that story a million times. First time it was incredibly exciting. Now it's just a thing that happened. So keep your mouth shut. Stay the course with your secrets. Only let them out when it's absolutely the right time to let them out. Um, Secrets are very positive, and also in the personal realm, if you keep secrets, if somebody has something they're ashamed of and they tell you, and you don't tell anyone else, you know, as long as it's not like legally imperative or like dangerous, that, you know, obviously use common sense. But, you know, if it's just something that they're kind of ashamed of or they don't really want other people to know about and it's no big deal in your eyes, if you keep that secret and you don't gossip, that's a very honorable and good thing to do, and your your loyalty is positive karma. Um, you know, someone who keeps secrets, some people will say, "Oh, I don't trust that person." You know, he's very secretive. He's very like, you know, he holds things back, and he's not transparent. He doesn't really come out and say what his intentions are or what he means or that sort of thing. A lot of people distrust secretive people. I say, yes, I'm very secretive, and that means you can trust me, right? If you tell me something, I'm not going to spit it out all over town. It's between you and me, and that means that we can have a relationship. It means that, you know, anybody that keeps my secrets, I can be vulnerable with that person. There's intimacy. So there's no intimacy with people that don't keep secrets. If people don't keep secrets, then there's no trust. You can't open up and really show somebody your guts. And, you know, really and truly, that's what people need, you know, because a lot of people are carrying a lot of shame for a lot of things they shouldn't really be ashamed of. But, you know, human beings are messed up. But, yeah, that's my very long rant on secrecy that I wanted to be fairly short and to the point. Don't let people touch your precious jewels and get their grubby fingerprints on them. Don't let the heat out of the oven. Don't breach the trust of your teacher. Don't breach the rules of conduct, and don't betray the trust of others. Okay? All good reasons to keep secrets. I love you very much. Dashi Dale. Sarva Mangalam.